Hello and welcome to Book Brilliance, the author's voice, where your brilliance, your book, your business is what we are talking about with some amazing authors, whether at the start of their book writing journey, they're a seasoned author, self-published or traditionally published, and maybe even partner published. This program is for those avid readers and would-be authors, as well as authors, who want to know a little bit more about authors themselves, insight into the world of books, and what it actually takes to be an author in today's world. So my guest today is the amazing Dr Yvette Ankrah, MBE, and she is no stranger to writing. So good day, Yvette. How are you?
Hello, I'm great, Deborah. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful, and I'm so thrilled that you've agreed to come on The Author's Voice and give us some insight into your world and the writing that you're involved with. So I believe, let's go back to the beginning. Tell us how you got involved in writing in the first place.
I've always actually loved writing, even when I was a young child, and I began my journey into writing as a journalist. So at 16, I was writing for an arts magazine, and I was interviewing music artists. I was doing book reviews. I was doing a range of things. And then I went on to work as a book reviewer on another arts magazine when I was 18. My first degree was actually journalism and psychology. So I've been writing for forever. And it's interesting that I kind of avoided it for a long time. And now, how many years later, I've come full circle and I'm doing a lot more writing again.
That's wonderful. And you know, for some authors it's totally in the blood, and it's been there since they've been children or young adults, and you know, they take it up, and then life happens, doesn't it? And for some reason maybe you drop the writing and you get busy with everything else. But you've got a PhD, and certainly as an educationalist, I know there's a lot of writing involved in that. So tell us a little bit about your PhD dissertation, your doctorate. Tell us a little bit about what you had to write about.
So
Sorry.
My area of expertise is race, class, identity and belonging. So I particularly focus on the Ghanaian second generation, and I was looking at the relationship between class and ethnic identity. So that was kind of the area I was focusing on. And my PhD, the first version of it was 100,000 words, and I had to cut it down. And it was really interesting because my PhD took me 10 years because of ill health and life. And I have to say, that put me off writing for such a long time. I stopped enjoying the pleasure of writing because previously I'd written poetry, which I've had published in odd anthologies years ago. I've contributed short stories, various different things all over the place. And the academic world really sort of sucked that creativity from me and that desire to want to write. And now that I've finished it all, it's done and dusted, I'm wanting to write again and enjoying that process.
Yeah, you know, and writing academically is totally different to writing, whether you're writing fiction or a non-fiction book. It is quite different. The level of detail that has to go in, the referencing, every little I dotted and T crossed. So, you know, it's, how do you feel making the shift from that style of writing into something more accessible for most people?
You know, it was interesting because I was always being told off by my professors because my style was too journalistic, it was too casual. I had to keep putting in the more academic style. And I think one of the things I've always believed is that it doesn't matter who you are, you should be able to access knowledge. It shouldn't be that you have to have a PhD to understand my PhD. I wanted anyone who picked it up to be able to read it and understand my ideas and concepts. So being able to write for different audiences is crucial. And for me, I want people to understand, because sharing knowledge is important, and I want whoever you are to be able to kind of get what I'm saying and be able to apply it and implement it into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, as being an academic myself, coming into the world of business and entering social media,
Yeah.
The difference from that style of writing to is the gap's huge.
Yeah.
So how do you find writing for social media today?
I think that's why I'm very grateful for the journalism training, because we had to learn to write for the tabloids as well as the broadsheets. We had to adapt our styles, and that's something that I've done throughout my career anyway. I worked in PR and marketing, so I've written everything from business plans and proposals to board level documents to things designed for children. So it's always useful to be able to switch back and forth. And because I've got an 8-year-old, and what people may not know is that sort of the average age of reading in the UK is of an 8-year-old, right? But my 8-year-old actually has a higher level of reading, but he's actually quite useful in terms of asking things. So if he reads something, he understands it. It's like, right, great, he gets it.
That's right. It's actually one of my points I make when I'm either coaching, whether it's business coaching or whether it's coaching along writing. It's you write so an 8-year-old can understand. That's where the tabloids are written. Yeah, they're written for 8-year-old. That's why the level of vocabulary is simplistic.
Yeah.
And actually, you hit the nail on the head when you said about your PhD, making it accessible for everybody, because PhDs can sound a whole lot like gobbledygook, as you know. But being able to, because it's so jargonistic, but being able to have that skill of bringing that down to a level that an 8-year-old can understand, that is crucial as a writer, as an author. So tell us a little bit about, I know you're in the process of, although you're published, you've got your PhD and you've been in magazines and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about how starting the journey of writing your own book, how is that different to what you've done previously?
Oh, it's actually a lot harder, because the book that is, I'm already mapping it out, I'm starting to write it, because it's about my journey, and it's designed for the women that I love working with, these high achieving women who are on that cusp of burnout, or indeed have already got there. And it's about what you can do to not get there. It's what I teach my clients, it's what I do as my day job, as a transformational coach. It's distilling that. So it's kind of thinking, what's the most important bits to go in? What do I leave out? What's the best, how do I convey this? Do I want to do lots of questions in there, or do I want to make it flow and be much more of a journey in a story? So it's a much harder kind of task. But I will, in terms of creating it, I'm going to use the same thing that I've done with, creating anything I do. I mind map. I speak to people, I open it out, I get the kinds of, and as I give talks, as I get feedback, I'm like, oh, these are the questions that people want to know. Like, so I'm using all of that, but I think it's so much harder in a way than doing the PhD. And even though the PhD was so long and took such a long time to write, it's not the writing bit that I'm concerned about. It's more about making sure I put the right content in there, and that it flows and it works well, and that the people that read it really receive that message.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, a starting place is, why am I writing a book and who's it for? It's the same as in business. Why am I starting this business and who's it for? You need to know the why and the who, and then the what and the how is what your content is for.
And it's the why is my why, because I don't want any more women having to experience the things I did, long-term ill health, completely just having to restart again because of habits and behaviours that led to, you know, things that didn't work, and led to burnout several times in my case. My kind of reason for a lot of things is I want people to be able to walk out on their terms. I don't want them carried out. Lots of times people only make a decision when they're at that point, they're on their knees. I don't want you to get there. I want people to understand that you have choices and you can start to make change. And by making those changes now, you can be resilient, you can be strong, you can still achieve, you can do it in a way that serves you. And that's my passion.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, most people wait to their adversity is they're in such darkness, and they have a turnaround. And, you know, you're right. It's about women like us, or men out there who've got such a story, sharing that story, because people might recognize, oh, I need to put the brakes on. If not, I'm going to go further down. And I get exactly what you're trying to achieve, because my end goal's exactly the same. And this is what we find. And it's wonderful when we come together, because we're supporting each other. Because when you bring your light, I bring my light, and other people will all bring the light together. We just become such a huge beacon for others who need to see, need to hear, need to feel that spark, so that they can begin to change, you know. So listen, we've been talking about books and everything, but tell us 3 fun facts about yourself.
Okay, well, I've appeared on Blue Peter.
Woo!
So, right, I played on Blue Peter. I can play, how many now? About 5 or 6 different instruments.
Wow.
But I haven't played in a long time.
What's your favourite out of the 5? And what do you play? Tell us the 5 instruments you play.
Okay, I played steel pan, and I played for London. So I played at the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Festival Hall. I played all over. That's what I was doing on TV. I played descant, soprano, and tenor recorder, piano, xylophone, and glockenspiel. So it's a bit more than that. Yeah. So I did a lot of instruments. I love it. If you had to choose, what's your favourite? Steel pan. It was always my favourite.
Yeah. I can feel it. I can hear it right now. I can hear it. I can get that going. And one more thing about you, something fun.
Well, something fun. I am addicted to learning. So it's one of my addictions. I love a course, love training, love personal development. It is. And I probably will do another PhD, but not now.
So yeah, absolutely. You know, the PhD's on the cards for me as well. It's just getting round to it. You know, I almost signed up earlier at the end of last year, but it didn't quite come to fruition. But who knows? Do you know what, Yvette? Thank you for shining your brilliance for everybody, for sharing your author's voice, and I truly wish you well, because I know you're starting that journey, writing that book. When do you hope the book to come out?
Next year. I want it finished by the end of this year. So I'm starting that drafting process, and by the autumn, I'd like it complete. I do write quite quickly. So, you know, it'll be around 30,000 words, and I can probably do that. Not too long.
You've written 100,000, you did 100,000 word PhD, had to knock it. You can knock a book out in 30 words in 30 days. Absolutely.
Yeah, if I sit down, I don't think it's going to take me that long to write. No. Once I've got it there, it's
material. And it's so important that you're doing the planning. Anyway, I just want to say thank you very much for gracing this series today with your presence, and I wish you all the best for the future. And I'm sure I will get you back once you've got your book, and let's see what happened in that journey, so you can share your author's voice once again as part of your author journey. So
really, thank you so much. Thank you.